Well, welcome to another one of our primary assembly team videos. Well, my name's John, and today's story from the Bible is all about helping out. Helping out when you see someone who needs help, when you meet someone who is desperately needing your help, and you help them out. You find a way to help them. Maybe a kind word, maybe an action, something you can do, where you can actually go and find someone else to help them, or something you can do to make a difference. And you might think it's only a small thing. You can't help them out in every way, but in this one thing you can do, or you can say, which can help them out. Well, we can all be helpers. In fact, we all need to be helpers because we're meant to help one another. That's how it is. Helping out your family, helping out your friends, helping out your classmates or your teacher, helping out one of your relatives, helping out in the community when you can, helping out with one of your neighbours. You know, there are lots of ways that we can help. What about helping out in our So welcome to our primary assembly team video for today. Well, for this week, and our Bible story today is all about helping out when someone needs you, when someone needs your help, helping them, choosing to help and not turn away and walk away, but actually choose to help them. It's a challenge for all of us because sometimes we are the people that need help and other times we are the people that can do the helping. Well, let's get on with today's story and see what happens. Who are the people in today's story who needed help? And who were the helpers? And I'll chat to you at the end. See you later.
A widow shares her last meal. Elijah walked on through the desert. It was hot and dusty, and all around him were dead plants. He looked back at the valley where he'd hidden from the king. There had been no rain for years, but God had kept him safe there, with food every day and water from the river. However, now even the river had all dried up, and no crops were left. Even the animals had died, and the people were left starving. But Elijah knew God was looking after him. He remembered what God had said. Go into the town of Zarephath. There is a woman there whom I have told to feed you while this famine lasts. Already Elijah could see the protecting wall around the town. There, near to the gate, was a woman gathering sticks from the dead bushes. Elijah called to her. "Could you bring me a drink of water?" The woman agreed and turned to fetch it. "Oh, and a piece of bread, please," Elijah added. But the woman shook her head sadly. "I have only a bit of flour and oil, enough to make one meal for my son and me. That's why I'm gathering these sticks to cook our last meal. Then we will both die," she told him. Elijah walked down to her and spoke kindly. "Don't worry. Go, make me a tiny loaf first. Then make some for you and your son. God, the Lord of this country, says that your flour and oil will not run out until the rain has returned and you can get more food." The woman went home. She made the bread for Elijah and gave it to him. And then she made some for her and her son, and they ate it. "If God doesn't keep his promise," she thought as she went to bed, "we'll have no food for tomorrow." The next day, however, when she went and picked up the oil and the flour jars, she realized that they were not empty, as they were the night before. She and her son and Elijah, of course, could eat that day. And so it carried on. Each day the flour and oil jars held enough for all three of them, until the rains came back and the new grass and crops grew. The three of them had enough food to eat. Jars held enough for all three of them, until the rains came back and the new grass and crops grew. The three of them had enough food to eat.
So in our story today, Elijah, who was a prophet, he was someone who spoke to people about God's laws and God's ways and reminded them of God's truths, that God loved them and God wanted them to follow his ways. And Elijah spent his days living by faith. He didn't have a salary. No one paid his wages. He didn't have food provided by some organisation. He didn't have his ready meals or his Pizza Hut delivery. No, he couldn't sort of ring for an Uber or he couldn't get a takeaway. All he did was rely on people helping him. Wherever he went to tell people about God's love and God's good news and God's message for them, he would rely on people helping him. That's how it was. He couldn't expect to be fed and to be provided for with a room for the night, a bed to sleep on. No, he had to just hope that they would, hope that someone would be there to help him. So he lived by faith. He didn't live by his own means. He didn't have money in the bank. He didn't have a credit card or a wealthy person who would look after him. But then sometimes he did have people who'd look after him. In fact, he had to have people who cared for him because he had to trust that God would provide in whatever way God would provide. And so he needed helpers to help him. Now, Elijah came across this old lady, and now she was called a widow because sadly her husband had died. We don't know whether she was an old lady or a young lady, but that's not the point. She was on her own with her son, and she didn't have much money. In fact, as the story goes, she was really, really struggling to a point where she was on her last meal. She had just enough flour and oil to make some bread, just enough to feed herself and her son. And she thought this was it. We haven't got enough food to survive. We are starving. And unless someone comes to help us, we're done for. And it was really desperate. Now, how sad that is that someone could be so hungry that they feel that they're not going to survive. And sadly, in our world, there are people that are so hungry that they simply are desperate. They're concerned they will not be able to carry on unless someone comes and helps them out. And thankfully, there are lots of organisations helping out people who are really struggling. But in our story today, this widow, this lady and her son have given up hope that anyone will help them. And then Elijah comes on and says, hey, don't worry. Trust God will provide. There will be enough for you to eat. There will be enough flour and oil for you to make enough bread. And incredibly, there was. And we don't know quite how it happened. It was a miracle. It was an absolute miracle that God provided the flour and the oil, enough for this lady to have enough bread to survive, to eat, her and her son. It's a great story, isn't it? A great story reminds us to keep trusting God, to not give up hope, and to call out for help and believe that God will provide. And Elijah was the one who was there to help this lady and her son, to remind them that it's okay, God would help them out. And he was an important person in their lives at that time. So, whether you are the person that can help or whether you are the person that needs help, let's remember today that God will provide that help. Let's trust him. And let's not give up hope. Hope is very, very important. And it's important to pass that hope on to others, isn't it? And encourage one another and say, hey, come on, we can do this. We can get through this. However tough it seems, believe it. Trust that you will get through and that God will help you get through. So remember that this week, boys and girls and staff. And also, if you can come along to our light party. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We've got an enormous inflatable earth. We've got the smoke machine. We've got the 3D glasses and the UV lights. We've got challenges and games and crafts. We've got a barbecue. Hey, who loves a barbecue? Me. Not just me. We've got hot chocolate. We've got, as I say, games and activities for all ages. It's going to be so much fun. So, wear your 3D glasses. Yeah, wear your 3D glasses. Bring your UV torches. Put on your fancy dress. Nothing scary, please. Think superheroes, angels, sort of like light and action. It's going to be great fun. So, hope you can join us on Sunday the 31st of October for our light party. Hope to see you there. If not, have a great half term, and I will see you in the next half term in a couple of weeks' time. All the best. Bye for now.